But we got 20 minutes left in the show. Let's talk little Utah Jazz.
They
are playing well.
Winning games.
Well. Rudy Gobert, man.
He's the dude.
He is the dude.
Made the trade. We talked about that a few weeks ago. Here's the thing. I'm happy. The Jazz are playing well. Quinn Snyder's sort of, in my opinion, making bonehead coaching moves at the Celtics last week, but I'm over that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the final play. I agree.
I'm over that.
Okay.
What I'm looking forward to now,
history.
Who do you think in the last, how many games do we have? 20?
Something like that.
20 games do you need to see the most out of?
That's a really good question because I could name quite a few people.
The most. Who do you need to see them?
Well, the easy answer is Gordon Hayward. That's the easy answer because he's got to play well for the Jazz to win.
But not about wins and losses. So just if you're looking at a player and you're like,
if I'm looking for
this guy needs to
our
set
future assets, what can we see? What can I pin my hopes on? Rudy Gobert.
See, I'm not with you on any of those.
Trey Burke.
I'm Trey Burke.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
I need to see Trey Burke perform at a level
that
is
improving. You know what? You're right. I would agree with that.
Look, either you're going to be a major part of the point guard tandem duo with Dante Exum, or you're not. And at this point, it's really a toss-up on whether we get rid of you for whatever we can and just go with Dante Exum over the next few years and let him grow and struggle through his growing pains. Bring in a veteran point guard where needed. Or if Trey Burke, it's going to be the 1-2 punch of Burke and Exum, and we're going to have young guys, here for hopefully 5 to 7 years. Trey Burke's the one for me who I need to see something out of. And it's not shooting threes. It's not scoring. It's facilitating. It's being and unfortunately for him, that's not really who Trey Burke is. He's like, to me, an Allen Iverson. That's what he was at Michigan, and that's who he wants to be in the pros. He can pass. Iverson could pass. He played with some bad players, so they missed a lot of layups when he passed to him. But Trey Burke really does want to score the ball. So I either need to see Exum and Trey Burke in the game together. I don't care how it plays out the next 20 games. I don't care. Sure, I'd like to see them win more than they lose.
Sure.
I'd like to see this continued progress that we're seeing over the last 10-game stretch. But really, to me, is I want to find out what Quinn Snyder, what Dennis Lindsey, what the Jazz organization has in their pocket moving forward.
I would agree with that. I'm a little bit more optimistic, though. The Jazz right now are 4 points away from having a 12-game winning streak.
True.
That's incredible. They're 8-2 in the last game, in their last 10 games, and actually 10-2 in their last 12 games, which is incredible. And in the 2 games they lost by a combined 4 points.
Albeit most of them pretty terrible opponents.
True. You're right. Yeah, but you expect I'm not worried about those losses. You're going to expect that from a young team. They're trying to find their feet, new coach. You're going to expect that. What I'm impressed with, they got rid of the locker room cancer. I think the front office, the locker room cancer, Mr. Kanter. They got rid of him, and great, playing well in Oklahoma City. I don't care. That's great. I know people are second guessing that. They should have done. I don't care. He was bad for the team. It was destroying the chemistry. They're finally starting to play as a team. They're starting to play together. They're starting to believe they can win. And to see that in a young team, it makes me excited for next year. I think next year. Okay, question for you, real quick. How many, with this core that they have, how long until they're in the playoffs?
Oh, man. They
next
play
year,
in the West, and it's a really down year in the West. I mean, San Antonio.
It's a weird year. And we're speaking of more playoffs, we'll talk
low,
about that. Right.
I mean, the Suns are still in the fight for the 8 seed. Look, it's going to be hard, no matter how well they play, for them to break those top 4 or 5 teams until Chris Paul and some of the other older guys retire. But I'd say they're probably 4 years out from making the playoffs in the West.
4 years.
Minus major movement.
Here's the problem with that. With the new CBA, 4 years, we're going to have a totally different team in 4 years.
Maybe.
And that's kind of the problem I have with the new CBA is, as a fan, especially as a fan of a small market team, it's hard to build for the future. I don't know how you do it. I really don't, because contracts are up so quick and guys can bolt so quickly. So I have a problem with that. 4 years, I disagree with that, and I hope to God it's not that, because if it's in 4 years, we could be looking at a very long drought.
Well, I mean, let's be honest, the teams ahead of them probably aren't going to get worse.
I'm not looking for a high seeded. I'm just looking to playoff contention.
I hear you.
I don't think they're that far. In fact, they're not that far. The strides they've made in the last 10 games tells me alone. I mean, and here's the thing. A couple weeks ago, I did say, I looked at the schedule coming up, and the way the Jazz were playing after they got rid of Kanter, I said, they could go on a little run here.
Right.
And you kind of laughed at me, ha, ha, ha. They lost to the freaking Lakers, blah, 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 blah. But I was right.
After you had the meltdown,
I was right.
They were losing to the Lakers. You were right. You were absolutely right.
So,
but look at the teams they're beating. Beating those teams won't get you into the playoffs.
I disagree. Here's the thing.
Not in the West.
In order, you have to beat the teams that you should beat. You have to.
Right.
And then you have to be able to beat some teams that you shouldn't beat. And if they can do that, and they can this year they beat Memphis, they beat San Antonio, they beat good teams. And so they can definitely do it. There's no doubt in my mind. I think
But you have to do it consistently.
Most people I'm hearing are saying 2 years. I really believe it's possible next year. I really 100% believe it is possible, maybe not to make the playoffs, but to compete for that 8th spot. I without a doubt, I really believe it's possible. I'm not picking it, but it wouldn't shock me. I say 2 years, year after next, they're in the playoffs. Definitely.
I hope you're right. I just have a strong feeling that you're probably not, because look, the teams.
If it's 4 years, then
you need to start the season like this, first of
sure.
all. I mean, and secondly, the teams they're beating now, I'm happy that they're winning, like I said. But for me, I'll know after this next 20 games, I need to see these guys play together. And the points I was making earlier is late end-of-season winning streaks sometimes produce good starts the next year, and sometimes they are exactly what they are.
Right.
No one cares.
Honestly, I don't.
You're playing
I'm not
the
expecting
freaking Knicks. No one cares.
I remember, what was it, last year?
The Knicks don't care.
Last year, the year before, they beat a good team in the last game of the year. And I remember, I think Steve Brown was calling the game. He's like, this is something to build on next year. And look, this has no bearing on next year.
Right.
None.
Right.
The only thing it does is you can see that this team is capable. I don't care about the competition. To win in the NBA at all, you got to be good. So, just to see them make the stride from where they were last year to where they were at the beginning of this year to where they are now, to see that progress, that makes me optimistic to what I'm going to see in the future. And so I really believe that they're going to be competitive next year and definitely make the playoffs the year after that.
They're going to have to win like 40 games.
Oh, they're going to have to win more than that.
Yeah.
For sure. In the West, definitely.
Yeah. Especially, this was like, really, this would be the 1 year where the anomaly fits the equation, where the Jazz might have a chance.
Sure.
In normal years, not so much, maybe. We'll see. I mean,
don't know.
And you're right. A lot can happen. Look, the Lakers, Kobe could come back. Julius Randle, they're going to have a high pick. Who knows who they get? I mean, a lot of teams that we didn't.
Sure.
It's a weird year.
Look at this year, man. Golden State.
Killing it.
You kidding me?
Steph Curry, man.
Freaking Atlanta. Atlanta has already won
the mini
50
Jazz.
Games. They've already,
I guess the real Jazz now.
Exactly.
I don't know.
They've already won 50 games.
I know.
Thank Jerry Sloan for that, by the way. Memphis, Portland, Houston. Okay, Golden State, Memphis, Portland, Houston. Those are the top 4 teams.
Right.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So it's weird. I more than anything, I'm glad to see the strides they're making. You never saw this with Ty Corbin, even with star players. You never saw it at all. I like where we're going.
I totally agree with you on that. The question is, and I think part of it is, is the growth going to be continued? I'm not sure if they haven't peaked. That's why we need to see some, I need to know where Trey Burke fits into the equation. I need to know.
That's the biggest question mark, for sure.
Well, I mean, you can only carry so many point guards,
Right.
And we can't lose at the shooting guard. I mean, there's a lot of questions, really. The improvement that the team has made has been, what's less than significant but better than nothing. It's right in the middle there. You don't think it's significant? I don't think it's significant. No, I mean I think it's an improvement.
But you call me a pessimist.
But it's not significant because
can't please you.
Although they've been in a lot of games. They've also shown some really bad tendencies.
But they're young. They're young. Young teams are always going to show that. Always. It doesn't matter.
I mean, sort of young. Kind of young.
They're young.
Gordon Hayward's not young anymore, really.
But Gordon Hayward's not the only player on the team.
Derek Favors isn't really young anymore.
But Trey Burke is. Dante Exum is. Rudy Gobert is.
And those are the guys
I
need to see.
The core for the future, definitely. And I think Gordon Hayward can be the veteran presence. I mean, I hate to even say that since he hasn't really done anything other than, I mean, he's good, but he hasn't really been a playoff guy, so it's hard to have that. But I like what I'm seeing. I like the improvement. Most people are saying 2 years they'll be in the playoffs. I really believe it could happen next year. I'm not expecting it, but it wouldn't shock me. But I believe in 2 years I would agree with that. I think that's it.
I say 4. 3 to 4.
If it's 4, then
what about 3? Let's meet midway. 3. I mean, because a lot's going to be banking on whether or not Dante Exum is as good as we hope he's going to be.
I agree. Look,
so I mean, in 2 years, you're going to ask a 21-year-old kid to be that good. I mean, it's sort of unrealistic in a way. Look at Derek Favors. He had more years in the league, and now he's just sort of seeing his full potential 6 years in.
Yeah, well, Derek Favors.
And playing against top-notch competition.
Is a disappointment, but I think the biggest problem with him was, and this is a big thing with Corbin, and then we got to move on, but Corbin didn't progress his team. We should have been at this point 3 years ago.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda, man.
I know, and then Corbin didn't see that Derek Favors is not the main guy. He's a great. He can be a great. I don't want to call him a role player because I think he's better than that, but he's never going to be the main guy to get you 20 and 10 every single night.
I disagree with that.
We haven't seen it, and he's been in the league for how long? Not going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
What are his stats this year?
I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
Okay.
But I just don't. I think he's better suited to be a defensive presence and pick up some buckets, definitely. But he's not. I don't think he's going to be the guy. I mean, we need someone else for that. Anyway.
On a weird note, though, did you know that the Utah Jazz have an average age younger than the men's basketball team at Brigham Young University?
Really?
Put that in your stat
And they're
book.
not young at all.
Put that in your stat. They are.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That doesn't really surprise me, though.
It's
not that
It's
shocking.
one of those things where you're kind of surprised,
right.
but like
when
not really.
When you first hear it, it's like, what? And then it's like, oh, okay.
Right.
I get it.
When you've lived in Utah, know about BYU, you're not overly like,
right.
oh,
exactly.
Whoa.